morning, everyone, and Happy New Year.
Good morning.
Welcome to our 2017 Talk of the Towns from the BH-BL BPA. As many of you already know, our organization is geographically aligned with the 4 towns represented today, and I appreciate Chris hosting our meeting this morning. As is customary, we host the meeting at the different towns that are part of our organizational footprint. So we have Glenville, Ballston, Charlton, and Clifton Park all represented today on the agenda. And in a few minutes, we're going to hear from each of the town supervisors. So each of the town supervisors will have about 10 minutes or so to present what's going on in the town, and in particular, what business environment looks like in 2016 in the past and going into 2017 in the future. And I'm hoping that what comes out of the meeting is we'll find synergies in terms of where there's opportunities for us to continue to work together. But before we get to the real meat of the meeting, I would like to take a moment to just set the stage a little bit. As some of the people in this room know, because some of them are directly involved, we have what's called the Visioning Committee. And I'd like to recognize Nagar Hale, our immediate past president, and Michael Hale, who couldn't be here today for business reasons, who've really spearheaded this Visioning Committee. And the Visioning Committee is really an effort by a lot of key stakeholders to try to make sure that we're all going in the same direction. So there's a ton of moving parts, everything from the casino and Schenectady, possible sewers around the lake in the town of Ballston, lots of good stuff going on. So we want to make sure that the efforts of the BPA, representing the business community and the school district, among other stakeholders in the towns, we want to make sure that we're taking every opportunity we can to be working together. And so part of what we came up with is a slogan, and I have to say that I really like the slogan. I hope you do too. It's a work in progress, but our slogan is BH-BL Community, Love the Lifestyle. And the subtext to that is neighbors, farms, and businesses. Trying to be respectful of all those stakeholders and make sure that they all have a place and a part to play in helping develop that vision and sharing that vision with other people. The other part is that we recognize that those 4 towns are pretty broad. Just the town of Glenville, if you go to the west side of Glenville, which when we had our meeting at Wolf Hollow, realized, wow, this is a big town. It's 20 minutes or so from here, I would say. We can't cover everything in the Visioning Committee, so what we're really focused as a BPA, Business and Professional Association, is a specific area, starting from, say, Hetcheltown and Fox Automotive, going as far as 146A, where it intersects with Route 50 at Morris Ford, roughly speaking. And the reason being is that that's really what we are referring to as our central core, the crossroads of our BH-BL community, where things really all come together. You've got the high school, you've got the middle school, you've got Stevens Elementary. How do we connect all these things together so that we're a community, people can walk, people can cross the street safely leaving the high school? But I want to be clear that we've moved beyond the slogan, because I know a lot of times you can have a committee, you develop a slogan, sort of loses steam, and then you're left with a lot of sort of wasted time. And I don't think we've had that for the Visioning Committee. We had a recent win in the town of Ballston. It was really a collaboration for a micro grant, and it was a collaboration between the BPA and the town of Ballston. And we submitted a micro grant, which we were awarded for $250,000. The town of Ballston was awarded for $250,000. The BPA and Michael Hale in particular solicited input from small businesses that happen to reside in the town of Ballston for letters of interest. Those letters of interest really strengthened our application and allowed us to get some money that will help, in particular, small businesses and help create jobs, help give those businesses the tools that they need to be able to support the community and to support their families. There's also a submission of a sidewalk grant that I believe is pending. I know that was a partnership between the school district and the town of Ballston. So we have the school district, town of Ballston, different towns involved in these efforts to connect Stevens Middle School with the high school, other connectivity from O'Rourke Middle School to the high school. Again, really focused on how do we improve the quality of life in our community and at the same time add value to the businesses that are investing in our community. We've also provided input to proposed zoning changes in the town of Ballston. in part because there's a lot going on right now. There's the potential replacement of or use of the old homestead plot, potentially CVS. CVS is planning to go in there. We're trying to make sure that that fits in with what we see as our vision for the community. Also, the last thing I'll mention is that we were partnering with the library, and Karen's here, Karen, to help with a grant. So we provided a letter of support for a grant where additional programming can be provided at the library. Again, something that benefits really all of the towns and all the people that live in those towns and use the library as a resource. So you might say though, okay, so why a visioning committee, why now? And we'll get to the meat of the presentation here, but I think it's important that we understand why now is different than other things in the past where these kinds of things have been attempted. One of the things I'll mention, and Patrick McGrath's here, so he'll keep me honest, but in the visioning committee, for me at least, I learned a lot about the, as a taxpayer, cost of education per student, and we all care about that because we all pay school taxes if you're in the Burnt Hills-Ballston Lake footprint. The cost per student here is about the same as the cost per student in Saratoga, about the same. You could argue that our education is better, but I'm biased. The difference is that the tax rate in our area is much higher. And in part, it's much higher because the concentration of commercial tax base, which is roughly twice as valuable per square foot as residential space, is much lower. So if we bring in businesses and we do it in a way that doesn't upset agriculture in the ag district, and we bring in businesses that we as a community can benefit from, then there's the potential that we can still have the quality of education that we enjoy now, but at a lower cost to the actual taxpayers from a school tax standpoint. The last thing that I'll mention is that the Town of Glenville was awarded a $2.5 million grant, if I understand, for the sewer project. So I know sewers have been an ongoing discussion up and down, and fits and starts, but there's money on the table. There's actual work going on for a phase 1, as I understand it, that would put sewers around the lakes. And although that won't affect everyone in this room, what's interesting about that project is that they're looking at it with an eye towards how you expand that in a subsequent phase 2 to cover other areas, which include what we're calling our central core commercial district. And if you have a business, or if you know someone that has a business on that stretch of Route 50, you can understand what a transformative infrastructure that would be to have sewers there. So not initial, but that's something that is exciting. So without taking up any more time, what I'd like to do is just mention the agenda. Chris Koetzle, our host, will be kicking off with an update from the Town of Glenville, followed by Tim from the Town of Ballston, then Alan from the Town of Charlton, and then Phil from the Town of Clifton Park. Each presenter will have about 10 minutes to present. What I'm going to ask is that we table questions till the end, because I want to make sure that all the supervisors have a chance to be heard. And if you have time, you can certainly stay and ask your questions at the end. And network, of course. That's why I had the agenda go till 9:30, so that nobody up here feels rushed and that we can give all a chance to participate. So with that, I'd like to turn over the podium to Chris Koetzle, our gracious host.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Rick, and I don't think we need the microphone. You can all hear me okay, right?
No.
Oh, okay. All right, hang on then. Turn it on. So here's the switch.
Is this high technology and everything?
We got it. That was tall enough, I can reach over and see it. We got it, Phil.
Oh,
Thank you.
All right.
All right, can you hear me okay now? Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Rick, very much for hosting this, and thank you to the Burnt Hills Business Association. It's always great to be here with my colleagues from Saratoga. I'm always struck each year how gracious and welcoming they are to a Schenectady kid for allowing me to be part of the Saratoga group. It's a great relationship. You guys can buy more water from me, but we have a great relationship.
Lower the price.
And, you want quality stuff, you got to pay for it. So I'll quickly go through a few things that we've accomplished in 2016, some of the things that we're looking for in 2017, and maybe how we can fit together and work together again in the coming year. This year, actually tonight, I'll be doing a full State of the Town here in this room at 7 o'clock, so I'm only going to take a few highlights out of that and talk briefly about them. But if you want the full State of the Town, that'll be tonight at 7 o'clock in this room. One of the things Rick talked a little bit about is what's happening around with the changing of zoning in the different towns. Town of Glenville started the process of rewriting its comprehensive plan this past year. Actually started in 2015, but we went through the majority of the work in 2016. We're close to actually having a draft that we'll bring out for a public hearing. But we went around the town and had a variety of different community meetings in West Glenville. Rick talked about the diversity of Glenville, West Glenville, East Glenville, All Plaws, Scotia. Everyone forgets Scotia is a part of Glenville. And so we really solicited a lot of comments and a lot of information about where we should be going with our zoning and our codes. And so this year in 2017, we'll be moving to the next step, adopting the plan, and then looking at the change of zoning and codes to match what's happening in the town, the growth that we're starting to see. So that work has been keeping us pretty busy in 2016, and I anticipate again in 2017. We've made tremendous, and I'll talk about each of the business corridors. We're defining our business corridors, but I'll talk about them kind of as a patchwork together. But when you look at Freeman's Bridge Road, the Kenco building that created a tremendous amount of contamination on not just the business properties there, but also threatened the water supply of many of our residents. We were able to go out and get a grant from DEC, $1.5 million to bring clean, fresh, that great water I'm talking about to our residents, get them off the well because of the contamination was threatening those wells. That was accomplished in 2016, but we took down the Kenco building. We began the cleanup process again with DEC money to clean up Freeman's Bridge Road and ready it for further development, which I'll talk about in a few moments. One of my most exciting things and I'm most happy about is the completion, 95% of the completion of our town center with the new lights. Many of you complimented those lights coming in, the clock. The banners will be going up, the sidewalks are in. We'll talk a little bit about those sidewalks in a little while, but we were able to put $1.5 million of investment in this town center, which led to an additional $8 million in investments by the businesses. Once we started to fix up our town center, they wanted to fix up their businesses. And that has been one of the great successes, I think, of 2016. And you'll see as those banners go up, there's a few more lights that have to go up in front of CBS. It makes a difference when you come to town center. And we want to welcome all those Ballston shoppers that come into our town center for their goods and services, Mr. Supervisor. We opened, surprisingly, one of the biggest and most popular things we did is open a dog park. People love our dog park. We gave over 700 licenses for the dog park. It's used every single day, used by many people. That was a great investment we made. We expanded Melwood Park as well, created a new entrance into Melwood Park to help accommodate the growth going on in Melwood. Oktoberfest was a tremendous success, has been a tremendous success every year. This community wanted a community event, a signature event. We welcomed over 10,000 people to our town last year through that Oktoberfest celebration down in Melwick, and that just continues to grow, and we're proud of that. We've invested in the girls softball fields at Indian Meadows, finally gave the girls the same facilities that the boys have had for many years, so we're proud of that. And we finally paved the roads in Melwood Park, in Indian Meadows Park as well. Talking about grants, Rick mentioned a little bit, we had a successful grant season this year. We secured a variety of grants. We secured $220,000 to expand our senior center so we could expand programming through our senior center. That is continuing to grow. We secured 2 grants for a Freeman's Bridge Road study. So as you can imagine, Freeman's Bridge Road is fast becoming a huge gateway into our town. It always has been, but now it's really going to go to the next level. We received both a federal grant and a state grant on studying Freeman's Bridge Road and how we can do what we did in Town Center down at Freeman's Bridge Road. We received $250,000 to invest in our water plant, meaning protect against potential contamination back during Sandy and Lee. We were within a couple of feet of our wells being unfortunately compromised. We will take that grant and we'll raise our well heads, we'll build berms around the plant, there's a variety of other things we will do to ensure the protection of our water supply. And we just received a $50,000 grant to focus on our business and technology park. So we're going to create a master plan to attract more investments. The amount of companies coming, and the number of companies coming into that business park is growing. We have 2 more that we should be announcing shortly, we hope, if all goes well. But the jobs that we're able to create down in the business park has been a tremendous boost here for our town. Goals for next year, or I should say this year now that we're here in 2017, is to implement our automatic read water meters that will create efficiency in our billing process for our water users here in town, lower the cost, and hopefully get some more customers back as water customers. But the water meters will help us be more accurate in our readings and also be more efficient. We also, when we talked about town center sidewalks, some folks said, well, you built a sidewalk to nowhere, and that's not really true. The next step is to now bring our walkway down to Woodhaven, right down to Glenridge, so that we can connect hundreds of people into a walkable town center. After that, see, there we go. It's in Woodhaven. The next is we'll be going down Van Buren to the dog park and south to Social Plaza. It will connect thousands of people into a walkable town center and into our parks. And so once you get into the Anderson Dog Park, the trail system goes into Neat Meadows, and we can bring it all the way to the YMCA from any one of our neighborhoods here in East Glenville. So we're building a network of a more walkable community, and the next phase will happen this year down in Woodhaven. We'll continue our investments in the park. Melwick is set to get a $500,000 expansion, new fields, softball fields, soccer fields, lacrosse fields. We're investing more in our parks again this year, and hopefully working with our partners in creating some type of fitness trail, fitness park here in our parks, so that people can, as they're walking the trails, perhaps do some of their workout, try to get people more active. Other than that, I think the one thing that we're going to be authorizing tonight is a town board is creating a new committee here in Glenville. One of the things that came out of the comp plan process was that our residents feel as though the town has not properly, over the years, embraced its history and celebrated its culture. And evident of that is the potential threat to Yates Mansion. I don't know if you followed that or not. Yates Mansion is one of the most historic buildings in this area, let alone the town. Governor Yates lived in that house when he was governor. It was his summer residence. He has done things from one of the founding trustees of Union College, mayor of Schenectady, senator from this area, and then governor. It's fallen into terrible disrepair, and there's a threat of someone wanting to tear it down. And that should never have gotten to that point. But we're creating a Glenville History, Culture, and Events Committee that will be charged with helping the town board catalog, interpret its history, save these types of structures, and to build events celebrating our culture and history around that. So we're very excited about that. And then lastly, I think I couldn't really end this without talking about the biggest challenge of 2017, and I see it as a challenge, and some people see it as an opportunity. But for the town of Glenville, it's certainly going to be a challenge, is our new casino opening here on February 8th. You've heard me talk about this for 2 years now. I continue to talk about it. It is fundamentally unfair and fundamentally wrong that the town gets zero impact money when they put that thing on our border. And you look at Schenectady gets $2.5 million a year, every year, as long as that license is in effect. And the county gets $2.5 million a year, every year, as long as that casino's license is in effect. $5 million for impacts to the city and the county, and zero to the town of Glenville. when we know we're gonna have traffic impacts, everybody has agreed that the routes from the north will come down 50, and I'm sure my friends in Ballston will see some of that impact, or out of Clifton Park off the Northway, down Maple through the roundabout, we're gonna see those impacts. We're gonna see police impacts. You can't bring that amount of people into the town and not have some impact on the police. So we need to engage again, and we will, on that. And when people say to me, well, you're gonna get the ancillary benefit of sales tax, I fundamentally disagree with that. Number one, we know for a fact, it isn't just an assumption, it is a fact, casino goers go to casinos. They do not take the time to shop at Gold Stocks for their skis, or to stop at maybe the liquor store, but beyond that, they don't stop at many other places. We know this through history of other casinos. So on top of that, people talk about the sales tax. And in Schenectady County, the sales tax share is fundamentally unfair. And I went through this in my budget presentation. Every $1 million, I'll just give you some numbers to think about. For every $1 million in sales tax generated in the county of Schenectady, the county takes 75% of that, $750,000. The city gets another $130,000, so that's 13%. Metroplex, which is part of the county, gets $87,000, which is 8.7%. And the town of Glenville, with the other towns, only get $8,000 for every $1 million collected. That's 0.8% of the sales tax. We get no sales tax growth. When you think about that, how fundamentally unfair that is, you look at a county like Saratoga, where they do it right. Their county shares the sales tax 50-50 with the towns. That's fair, and that's right. And that's not what's happening in Schenectady. So when people talk about this casino impact, and surely Glenville's gonna get some benefit, there is no benefit financially, but we're dealing with all the challenges. And that's gonna be one of the biggest issues we're facing in 2017. So I think that's about 10 minutes, and that's kind of a broad overview of what's going on here in Glenville, and I think we'll save the questions till last, so I look forward to, and I'm not introducing anyone, right?
That's okay. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate that.
Oh, I would have introduced you.
Oh, that's fine, that's fine. Really appreciate you hosting this, Chris and Rick. It's really great. Oh, yes.
Tap that microphone and make sure it's working.
Oh, it's not.
You didn't hear any of that, Tori? You want me to do it again?
I've got the 2 hearing aids, and one of them is up for repair. But luckily I can read your letters.
It was all gloom and doom.
Test 1, 2, test, no.
Come back at 7, you can hear it again.
Well, already I'm planning on it.
Test.
Well, then just speak up.
Yeah, I can speak nice and loud. I'd like to welcome everybody here today. Happy New Year to everyone. Hopefully everybody had an excellent holiday season. And as Rick had mentioned earlier, you stole all my thunder, by the way. No, but anyway, all the stars are aligning in Town of Glenville. We have a lot of good things happening that have happened in 2016. As Rick had mentioned, we had a $2.5 million grant for our sewer project around the lake. We also got the $250,000 micro enterprise grant money, and also like to give kudos in addition to Mike Nigar-Hale, also to your councilman here, Jim Martin. He helped us with that also, and very knowledgeable. And what you really need there, you need the experts involved for grants, that we actually applied for, and we were successful, and that really it's going to go a long way. We've had numerous applicants for that enterprise grant when we put the application in. Matter of fact, my phone was still ringing and getting emails of additional folks that wanted to be involved with that, and they will also be involved in the process. So again, we also had another major success in 2016. We have a 247-acre park in our town that was donated to us. So Hawkwood Park, it's right off of Middle Line Road, and right off of 50 Middle Line. We have a nice parking area there. There's a lot of Eagle Scout projects going on with that. A lot of folks from nearby towns. I know some folks here in Glenville. I work with them at Knowles. You know, they're actually visiting our park. So again, it's getting a lot of interest from some, you know, outside township folks, you know, to come to our park and enjoy, you know, the park in the town of Ballston. So going back to what Rick had mentioned too with the Economic Development Visioning Committee. That committee, we've been going for about 2 years now. That consists of about 35 different individuals. And, you know, it consists of the BPA folks, school administrators, elected officials, and residents that have a concern for our town. And I gotta tell you, when I say the stars are aligning, there's a lot going on, right? They made a lot of recommendations. It's still a work in progress, but we're looking at taking a look at our zoning in our town, right? At the same time, with all these recommendations from this Economic Development Visioning Committee has made. So again, matter of fact, we're going to be workshopping that 2 Saturdays here, the 14th, and actually looking at that and changing some different aspects that was recommended by Nan Stolzenberg. She's our consultant for some zoning changes in our town. You look right now, okay, even without the sewers on Route 50, and by the way, those numbers look very, very good. We got some rough numbers for the EDUs, and I'll tell you, it's very, very attractive. I would think that was going to happen a lot later, you know, rather later than sooner, but I'll tell you, it's going to happen fairly quick. And I was at a sewer committee meeting last week, and the way we see this project going is the lake right now, okay, because that's a definite project that's going to happen, is right now they're in the design phase, so that's going to be, you know, during this year here. The way we see it is shovel in the ground early next year, right? So, and then the Route 50 project, we're going to have RFPs out for that, you know, for the sewer studies and the different options, because as you mentioned, there are a lot of moving parts with the sewer projects, right? When we look at the lake project, there's different proposals for, you know, part of the Route 50 and a different hamlet area being tied into the lake project. So, you know, here's the bottom line. We have one shot at this, okay? We have to do it right here the first time, because there can't be rework with this, because as you all know, it's very expensive to, you know, anything related to sewer infrastructure. It's very, very costly. So we want to make sure we do it right, and we do it right up front. So again, a lot of good things happening in that area. What I will say is, even without the sewer on Route 50, we have a lot of projects right now on Route 50. Chris, we're going to try to get some of your folks up in our town, you know, to do some shopping, right? So, no, but, so anyway, you know, we had, as Rick mentioned, the CVS project where the old homestead used to be. There was a referendum that was passed there for that project. That'll be starting in the spring. So that's happening. Right across the street, you see some activity at the USA gas station. A lot of contamination there, and very costly, but they're working on that. Also, the complex, right? Some folks call it Frontier Town, the little strip mall, and actually Stewart's has an interest in that. They have to work out some things with a contract with that. But matter of fact, the contact that I have at Stewart's, Chuck Marshall, I told him, I said, you know, I want to be there the day when that's actually torn down. When that's actually, you know, torn down by a bulldozer, right? He said, I got one better for you. He says, I'll have you drive the bulldozer. Well, I was pretty excited about that. I'm pretty good with heavy equipment, so I'm going to take him up on that. No, but really where I'm going with this is, right, we need to change the look of our town. Chris, you've done a great job here, your street section here, your nice street lights here, you know, the sidewalks that you have, connectivity, really goes a long way. You heard some folks get excited about the connectivity. It really makes sense. It's the right thing to do. So we have that also. Again, there's a lot going on, a lot that we have to handle in Town of Ballston for 2017. Matter of fact, yesterday in my office, I had a fairly large whiteboard. I erased all of our items for 2016, started a new list for 2017, and got about 7 items on a to-do list, but these items that we have are, you know, are gonna take a tremendous amount of work, right? We have to make sure that this sewer project around the lake is done, is on target. There's a lot of administration that goes with that. So we're trying to figure that piece out right now. Again, you know, so we have that. It's real important. So the additionally, let's see here, the north end of our town. A lot of you folks had mentioned about, you know, some folks had questions all the time about Walmart. What happened to Walmart? I really don't know why they pulled out. I really don't know the real story, whether you were for or against Walmart. But I got to tell you, you know, really, that's a big revenue loss for our town, right? So now we have to, here's my view of that, we have to work diligently here to try to get, you know, more retail up in that area because it's a prime location for retail. We're going to, hopefully we can get a large grocery store chain in there. That's what residents want. And that's why they were excited about the Walmart, because Walmart, half of that was going to be grocery, right? So again, we have to reach out and work with the folks and really try to draw the right business up in that area, you know, for the constituents of our township. Here's last year we had something that was very concerning to me and the town board was we've had 4 retirements, right? We've had the town building inspector, our assistant building inspector, our planning board chair, and a member in our assessor's office. They all retired. And I tell you, with Tom Johnson, our building inspector, there was a lot, and Dick Doyle, our planning chair, a lot of expertise that walked out the door last Friday, okay? But I gotta tell you, I feel very comfortable, as the town board does, and Tom and Dick feel very good about their successors, okay? We've been planning for this because I'll tell you, we would be in, it'd be very challenging not having the right folks, you know, to replace each one of those. And we got a young man, Brian Thurl from Malta. He's actually in that position. He's been there since October. He's doing an excellent job. Matter of fact, Tom just sat back and anything he needed, he would go to Tom. So we feel good about that. Jeff Kowinski, our new planning board chair, he's going to do an excellent job. One thing that I want to change, I actually met with Jeff last week. One thing that I want to change there is you know, the process going through and doing business in our town. I want to make it easier for applicants, right? That's always been a struggle and a complaint that's been, you know, directed to us. How can we do, you know, hey, we don't want to do business in Boston. It's too difficult to get through the process. So again, want to take a close look at that and really streamlining some of the processes to make it easier for businesses to come into our town. Because again, you know, with this economic development committee and the sewers coming, you know, we want to make sure that we can attract those folks in all the commercial base in our town. Because, oh, by the way, I can still proudly say we don't have a highway tax or a town tax in our town. So, and I'll tell you, if we don't get that commercial base, that can change very easily. So we're looking forward to that. We also have Kim Koetzle, and she's here today. She's our new stormwater management officer. So she's an addition to our staff in the building department, and a great addition, and all the regulations in that arena are changing constantly. So Kim and I had talked in detail. We want to make sure that you know, we have, if an auditor walks through the door, we want to make sure we're close to 4.0 as we can be. And Kim's doing a great job. She's coming to the board and letting us know what needs to be changed. Last thing I'll talk about here is infrastructure. You know, the whole key to, from my standpoint, is you got to have investment in the infrastructure for business, right? You got to have good roads, right? Good roads, and you got to have the water. You have to have the sewer. And we're fortunate enough in our town, we have 2 water sources. We have the Saratoga County Water Authority, and then we also have the Town of Glenville that we purchase water from too. If you remember back in Troy, with all the issues they had with you know, the big water issues, lack of water, the main pipe breaking there last winter, that was a big problem. And you know what? We reminded people, you know, think how fortunate we are in our town to have those 2 water sources. You know, we don't have that issue. And we don't want to be there, as you can see on the media. So Again, infrastructure, you know, we go down to Albany, fight for CHIPS funding, you know, it's for highway infrastructure in our town. We go down every year. I go down with the highway superintendent. It's very important because we have to have the right amount of funding for our roads in our town. Drive our town, and we have a lot of very, very good, well-maintained roads, and that's thankful to our highway superintendent, Joe Whalen, who does an excellent job with that. Yeah, we have a 7-year plan, so to take care of our roads in our township. Again, that's very important too. One last thing, the active recreation, right? We have a major need in our town, and I know Patrick McGrath can attest to this. You know, all the fields in our town are occupied, right? We have a lot of children in our town, and there's a need for that active recreational fields. And we got our eye on a couple different parcels right now, and the good part is, in our town, we can literally write a check today, okay, for some land acquisition. And where that funding comes from is anytime a CO is granted for a building, we get $1,000 Parks and Recs fee put into that account. And that account is fairly healthy right now. So again, that's definitely going to be helpful for additional active recreational park land. I know I said one last thing, this is my 3rd time. I don't want to forget, we also have another addition, and Jeanette Borthwick is here with us today. I actually convinced her to be my budget officer, who is now since our financial administrator, right, for the town. She has done a fantastic job, and I'll tell you, we finally had a budget, first budget that I've been involved with in the last 9 years, where we had real numbers we were looking at. And I'll tell you, a lot of hard work went into that, and appreciate everything she's done. And I'll tell you, we're on the right track financially. We got a nice, healthy fund balance, and again, we're moving in the right direction. So, on that note, I'll turn over. I think you're up next, right now. All right.
Just a second, that was Tim Szczepaniak. I should have introduced him. Alan Grattidge for the town of Charlton.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting us down here for this annual event. It's always an enjoyable event, and great to see my friend Chris here, as well as my other supervisors. Chris is certainly has a great facility for us. Told it used to be a movie theater and converted into a town hall, and I'm told that Chris's office is where they used to make the hot dogs. So that maybe explains a little bit of the sausage making that goes on.
We waited all year for that.
Facebook showed Chris having a new clock being introduced last week, and that's great because it's just in time for your tax bills to come. So, congratulations, but the improvements do look wonderful, and we were commenting on the walk-in that the fog was hanging and the new lights were on, and very nice setting.
We ordered that for you.
You are certainly you're certainly on the right track. Thank you for hosting us this year. So just again, giving a little overview of Charlton. Obviously not quite as active as our other surrounding towns. Geared more for the residential, agricultural aspects of the area. Population of 5,000, roughly 50 part-time and full-time employees working for the town, maintaining 47 miles of roads. We have continued to have a no town tax and a no highway tax for really, this is my 12th budget that I've submitted as supervisor, but it's gone the legacy back to basically 35 years since the sales tax went into effect countywide. And as Chris had mentioned, at the county we do share the sales tax 50-50 with the county and the towns. And that gives us a source of resources where we can run the town and be delivering the services to our folks, but not having to burden an extra tax bill on them. Obviously, there's still a county tax, there's a water tax, and a fire tax, but Charlton has been able to maintain the no town tax and the no highway tax for a number of years. We certainly recognize, as Chris has said, that the history of the town is something very important. We have our annual event every year, Founders Day, that becomes kind of the highlight of the year. We showcase the town, have the parade on the first Sunday in June. We have a town event up in our park with music and fireworks, and again, just to highlight the importance of the histories of the town. Number of projects that have come through our town this year. Verizon came in, recognized an area that they needed to improve the coverage. Now that everyone is living on their smartphone and their handheld devices, they recognized that they needed better coverage up there. So we're working with Verizon to put up an additional tower. We looked at our water tower, but it was in a dense residential area. We asked Verizon to look for other sites. They have come up with a site that's more off the road. We'll still get pushback. The funny thing now is when people come in and complain about cell towers, nobody complains that they aren't carrying a phone with them. They all want better coverage. They just don't want it in their backyard. But that's a challenge that again, a service to try to provide the folks for better coverage. And a lot of people are now getting rid of their landlines, so let's face it, the cell phones are your new lifeline. Stewart's has also approached us. They have a number of projects that they want to improve their existing stores. We have a Stewart's up on the corner of Scotch Church and 147 and 67. They actually went and bought a property kitty corner to the existing store, and they're looking for a bigger site to improve the safety for all the traffic that comes in and out of there. They're going to work their way through to basically remove the existing store after they build a new store up there. So that's also a project that is coming before the town board that will be working on that. We certainly continue to try to provide the atmosphere for the smaller businesses. We have a number of family-run businesses along the lines of Smith Pie Shop up on Jockey Street. Again, some folks that had a surplus of apples when the business changed. Shelley started making pies last year. They say they produced 70,000 pies out of one small little building. So that's how we count GDP in Charlton, is how many pies. In the audience, we have the Elmses. Again, I think both Tim and I will take a little credit for this because their farm straddles both Ballston and Charlton. But Chip and Sally started with the Christmas tree business and developed that through the years. It kind of morphed into the maize business, the corn maize business, a little agritourism going on. Keeps the land rural, keeps the divisions nice, and it creates a great place for kids to come and learn about agriculture and have a lot of fun. And they've invested a lot of money in their operation, but those are certainly the kind of operations we like to see. We have the Emmerichs that provide a great sales and service for all the garden equipment needs, and be amiss if I didn't mention the Charlton Tavern and the general store. Great place to go and have a meal and have a small Christmas party. I understand the Southern Saratoga County Chamber had a little get-together up there recently. Had quite a nice time. We're also heavily supporting the purchasing of development rights, the easements. We had 3 projects that the town sponsored last year that were successful both at the state level and the county level to receive monies, again, to sell the easement for the development rights on their property. 2 of them were key agricultural pieces up in the western part of town. We have a fairly large block of contiguous agricultural land up there that folks are interested in keeping in farming. This is a tool that people can use if they want to again, gain some of the value out of their properties for legacy planning and yet keep it in farming. We also have a young couple that bought a property on Featherbed Lane, Tim Bellows and his wife, that plan on farming with horses, and they're gonna hopefully run a CSA where you pay some money and then every week go out and get fresh vegetables, whatever there is in season. So we're interested to see how that business develops, and then also they're talking about having some educational programs out there. So we're excited about seeing how that project goes and how we can encourage that. I guess I'll just touch a little bit on Saratoga County. Again, we are certainly one of the lowest tax counties in the state. It's a magnet for people to come to want to locate in Saratoga County. You have a lot of synergies that go on between the great schools we have, the lifestyle, and the lower taxes just creates the right kind of atmosphere for people to want to come and invest. And again, as we talked about our levy this year, and we did override the tax cap, but there's a context that you got to look at. The way the tax cap worked, if your levy went up through growth, you would have had to override the tax cap no matter what if you wanted to keep your rate the same. The chairman coming in this year wanted to have a budget where he didn't use fund balance to balance the budget, so he was looking to increase the rate by 4 cents. And we did override the tax cap. There was certainly some pushback. We do not, our DNA does not really like to raise taxes, but in the context of where we were raising our tax from $2.26 a thousand to $2.30. And you say, okay, I mean, that's a fairly small amount, and yet there was a lot of pushback. But in context, Albany County's tax rate is $2.88, and then you start looking at some of the other counties. Schenectady County's tax rate is $7.79. So it almost becomes a no-brainer when some of these folks are looking at the cost, the overheads of these tax rates, what actually is the force that are pulling these businesses into Saratoga County. So we have a lot of challenges coming up to maintain what we have going at the county, and I look forward to working with my fellow supervisors up there. We have our big ceremony this afternoon that our new chairman will take the board, Ted Kanowski from Stillwater. So I think I'll leave it at that and introduce my colleague from the Town of Clifton Park, Phil Barrett.
Thank you all very much. You know, Chris, you said you were working on your comprehensive plan, and I hope there's a building and loan included in there. Because hearing Chris talk about the downtown here, it sounds like it's going to be Bedford Falls in a couple of years. So I hope there's space for a building.
We already have First National.
Maybe if Clifton Park buys more water, you'll have the money.
That's right.
So I do appreciate the invitation to be here today. And one thing that Rick touched on right up front was, I think what he was alluding to was the balance. And life is all about balance, right? Development and open space and land preservation efforts, and the balance in your tax base. Balance with commercial tax base versus residential. And that is very important. That was one of the reasons I ran in 1999. I was terribly frustrated with the fact that the Exit 9 area, which I know many of you visit, and I appreciate that, the Exit 9 area was struggling. We had a tremendous amount of empty retail space, empty buildings. Any of you remember Builders Square, owned by Kmart, so probably understand why that went out of business. But that was kind of Home Depot before Home Depot. We had an empty Builders Square for 5 years. We had an empty Grand Union. We had, half the mall was empty, and it was still that nice 70s orange color. I'm sure many of you remember. So it was very frustrating because as a resident, I'm saying this is Clifton Park. We can do better. We should be doing better. And when I was first elected in '99, the end of November, we started talking to Al Boskov, trying to get his attention. Finally, we were able to do that, attracted Boskovs to where the Caldor used to be at the mall. And soon thereafter, Target took over the Builder Square location, Kohl's came in and took the Grand Union location, and it spurred millions and millions of dollars in new private sector investment, which has been very important. But you know, even back then, a whole, you know, we're talking 2000. I mean, in the technology world, that was like 100 years ago, right? How things have changed. But even then, we knew that shopping online was going to occur more and more. So it was very important that we diversify our economy. And we immediately looked to hospitality and healthcare and other industries to diversify our economy in Clifton Park. Just as you maintain your investment portfolios, diversify them on a regular basis, the same must be true for every municipality. You must have a diversified economy. You must have different interests and different business uses playing off each other and complementing each other. And that's how you sustain success into the future. So we've been able to attract many new hotels. We attract Ellis Healthcare, a multi-million-dollar investment. That led to the attraction of NYOH, state-of-the-art cancer treatment. There is no better cancer treatment between Westchester County and Boston than right here in Clifton Park at NYOH. That spurred additional investment. St. Peter's decided they needed to step up their game, multi-million-dollar investment. And Community Care Physicians just built a brand new building on Route 9. All told, about $100 million in new healthcare investment in Clifton Park just in the last few years. So we've diversified our economy, and as we've done that, we've grown the tax base and provided very, very important services close to home for Clifton Park residents and Saratoga County, as well as Schenectady County residents. So hopefully you're taking advantage of that. So that was our plan to sustain the success of Exit 9, and to bring things to the next level. We decided to embark on a town center plan a few years ago. Now the town center plan was meant to create new opportunities for investment and new types of business investment. And obviously you've all seen mixed-use buildings in different areas. And that's something that was becoming more and more popular. So our new town center planning allows for mixed-use buildings to be built within the Exit 9 area. But really, the town center plan was more than just diversifying our economy and ensuring the sustained success of Exit 9. It was about creating a more walkable community, more connectivity between the business uses, and also traffic improvements as we go forward. Now, why is all that important? Well, if you have a municipality where the balance in your tax base is out of balance. In other words, if you have too much residential compared to commercial, that will be a problem for your taxpayers in the long term. It's very important to bring that into balance, especially in communities that are larger, like a Clifton Park. So we've been able to grow that tax base, which has helped the school system tremendously, and also helped Clifton Park, but it's been a huge boon to Saratoga County. Clifton Park is by far the largest municipality in Saratoga County. It's the most valuable per assessed value in Saratoga County, and we are an important economic driver within the county, and we benefit every single municipality in Saratoga County. A couple other things that are new that we've been working on that perhaps you've read about and may have some questions about. One, we just flipped the switch on a new solar field on top of our old landfill. We had a capped landfill that was capped in the late 80s. We have a new 1 megawatt solar system that was free. You know, it was pretty easy. It was tough getting the grant, but it was a pretty easy decision to go for that grant. Now, whatever your thoughts are about solar and grants and government subsidization, there isn't a solar project in the world that can stand on its own. They're all government subsidized. So don't think that there's a solar project out there that is purely funded by private dollars that somehow is making money for the investors. Doesn't happen, will not happen, may not happen ever. But if it does, it'll be a long time from now. So this 1 megawatt solar system that we just flipped the switch on, from the Town of Clifton Park standpoint, it was a lot of work. We did a lot of work getting that grant. We had to go through a purchase power agreement. I won't get into the details of that, but very in-depth, new concept to us and to many people. But there were no capital expenses. We have zero maintenance responsibilities in the future. And all of the power that's generated on this in solar field, 3,000 solar panels on a useless piece of property, goes towards offsetting our electric bill and our utility bills. So again, we did what was right for Clifton Park. What you feel about grants and solar power and everything else is your own personal opinion. A couple of other large projects. We have a new trail on Crescent Road, over a mile, that stretches from Octay School eastward into the town of Half Moon. We also have a very large trail project along the Mohawk Byway, along the river, and that too is a multi-million-dollar project. Both projects were funded largely through grant funding. We continue to look towards preserving property in the town of Clifton Park. Since we initiated our open space plan in 2001, we've permanently preserved 1,300 acres. 1,300 acres since 2001, and created over 6 new parks and nature preserves. So it's a great record and another thing that brings value to our community, and that's really what we try to do as a town board. Every single decision is meant to bring value to the community. Incredibly important. Why is it important? One, it's great for your tax base. It attracts new people and new investment to town, and also enhances the quality of life of all residents in your town. So very important. We view our role, and I view my role as the CEO of Clifton Park. And if you buy a house or invest in a business in the town of Clifton Park, you will get a return on your investment. That is our goal, and that's our commitment to everybody that invests in the town of Clifton Park. One thing that has hit the news quite a bit recently, and that is the whole discussion about a piece of property owned by the Shenandoah school system. And it's 34 acres. Anybody that's familiar with the Exit 9 area, if you're standing at Staples, if you're standing in the front door of Staples and you look directly across the street and you see a bunch of trees, well, it's that treed property from Maxwell Drive westward to Moe Road. 34 acres, beautiful piece of property. So I have been negotiating with Shenandoah Schools during the year, made them 2 offers. Both were rejected, although I didn't really get much in the way of constructive response from them to continue negotiations. They decided to go right to an RFP process. During the RFP process, we submitted a bid of $1 million, and that's the number that we had been talking to the school about. And I think that's an incredible commitment. This is a piece of property that's in public hands, owned by the taxpayers of the school district, an overwhelming majority of the school district being in Clifton Park. And the town was willing to pay $1 million to secure and preserve that property and keep it in public hands. But apparently that wasn't good enough. So they voted 4-3, the school board voted 4-3 to sell it to BBL for $2 million. And the town and BBL is going to donate half the land to the town of Clifton Park. Now that wasn't good enough for a lot of residents, and they've been out working hard getting signatures to force a referendum. And it appears they do have enough signatures. So there's going to be a very contentious vote soon, I surmise. The the next couple of months on the fate of that 34 acres and whether that property ends up in the hands of BBL and they control it, or if the referendum gets voted down, then the school board is back to square one. Now they're saying that the reason they want the money is to purchase land because they want to build a school in Half Moon, which I'm all for, by the way. When they built Szczepaniak at Exit 9, I was hoping they were going to build it. I asked them to build it in Half Moon, although they can build it in Glenville if they want. Build it in Half Moon because I'd rather, I mean, most of the kids that go to Szczepaniak are Half Moon kids anyway. Keep the traffic and everything in Half Moon, shorter bus routes and everything else, and keep some of that traffic out of Exit 9. But that's what they did several years ago. So we'll see how that plays out. There's going to be a lot more press on it. Maybe you have some questions about it. I'm more than happy to stay after the meeting to talk to you about that. Another new thing is the Senior Center with 24-hour notice. The Shenendehowa Senior Citizens Inc., doing business as the Shenendehowa Adult Community Center, is out of business. So to ensure that the Senior Center didn't close, the town assumed operational responsibility the morning of December 17th, which was a Saturday. So that was a busy weekend for myself and my team, and it's been a busy 2 weeks, scrambling, trying to learn about the center and all the different programs, and talk to the instructors that do classes there, and just learning what the center does. I mean, obviously we had some idea, but we didn't have any operational involvement with the center, so we're learning each and every day. Now that being said, I know there's some small business folks here, and we're always looking for sponsors and partners with the senior center. I'm just getting into their membership system, so I'm able to tell you there's over 1,000 members, paying members of our senior center. I'm confident that number, once we make the senior center great again, will be up in the 2,000 area. So if you have any kind of business in the area that where you want to market to a 50+ population, because it's a senior center, but there's a lot of folks in the 40, 50 age range that use the senior center, call me. It's a great marketing opportunity, and we have many opportunities for you to do that. So you'll have a captive audience and a good partner with the Town of Clifton Park, so please contact me if you're interested. I just want to end by thanking my colleagues for all of their partnership through the years. We all need to work together. No municipality is an island. We all need to do our part, and in Clifton Park we certainly do that, generating money for all of our fellow municipalities in Saratoga County and the county itself. But I do want to thank Chris for his partnership over the years. We've done some good things together for our residents. We had a large sewer project that we accomplished several years ago. I think that was the largest, and that was a fantastic thing for Clifton Park residents as well as Glenville. We buy some water, but the price is too high. So, it used to be we didn't have options. We used to buy more water from the town of Glenville, not Chris's fault, but previous administration didn't negotiate with us too much. But once we ran that water line down 146, things changed. So it opened the door to new competition, and so we negotiated the best deal for Clifton Park. But as Chris knows, we talk about it here and there, and doors always open. I know we can only go so low at times, but we're here for you, Chris.
Thank you.
I do want to say Tim has been a great partner as well. As he mentioned, we have a large sewer project we're working there. The Town of Half Moon, these two trail projects that I mentioned today that are brand new partnerships with the Town of Half Moon, and we also provide animal control coverage for the Town of Half Moon, and we have a couple of big traffic improvement projects with the Town of Half Moon. So it's important that we all work together as much as possible. We will disagree. Al mentioned the tax cap. I voted against the county overriding the tax cap. The county's talking about building a public safety building. I don't think it's a time for the county to build a public safety building and spend $20–25 million. So we will disagree at times, but it's important that we all work together as neighboring communities, so thank you.
Before we get to the Q&A, which we have about, looks like 10 minutes for the Q&A, I want to give Karen D'Angelo a second to mention a few things going on at the library because she'll do a better job than I will and be more succinct.
All right. Library mini golf, 24th and 25th. This is your opportunity to support it. You guys have been a great support, and don't forget to sign up for the tournament. The Friday night, February 24th and 25th. All right. So the next thing is the grant that we applied for. It's a $10,000 grant from the Southern Adirondack Library System. It is to offer classes by businesses and to businesses at the library. And if you are interested in either one of those, there's a sign-up sheet up there to get more information. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. And at this point, I'd just like to open the floor to any questions to any of the supervisors while we have time. Dory?
It just reminds me to wonder, to what extent do the towns financially or in other ways support public libraries? Any of you guys?
We don't have any financial direct support. I mean, we can't, municipalities are very restricted. We can't just give gifts to anybody or any other organizations because it's taxpayer dollars. And the libraries are supported by taxpayer dollars of county residents. At least in our county, it's county resident.
Yeah, we have a district where Clifton Park and Half Moon share a district, and that's how it's funded. But we partner with the library on a regular basis on programs and services. And we're going to do more of that now that the town is operating the senior center. I can't remember what the tax is right now. Our highway tax in Clifton Park is 25.5 cents per thousand. Back in 2000, when I took office, it was 87 cents. So our highway tax has dropped over 3 times in the town. We don't have a town tax.
Are you saying that there's a library tax?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, but I don't remember what it is offhand. Sorry about that.
I think it's higher than the highway tax, I think.
Oh God, it's way higher than the highway.
So you have a district that the town supports, a library
The
district.
taxpayers do, yeah.
Right. Yeah. We do have a partnership where we plow, we provide services to the library next to us.
Thank you.
We have the same in Ballston. We have our own district, and also we get contribution from Charlton. Of course, we wish it was a lot more.
We had never established a highway or a library district. So the library grant that goes from Charlton to Ballston is an annual grant that comes out of the general fund that competes with road work and parks and all that. So again, Galway Library actually went to the voters and created what was called a school district library. It followed the school lines. So anyone that lives in the Galway School District, they have a separate line on their tax bill that goes to the Galway Library. The Ballston Library gets an annual grant from Charlton.
Thank you. It just causes me to wonder, in what way was government connected with the libraries? Thank you.
Dory, come see me, I'll explain that.
Claire?
I'm talking everything around what happened to Malta. Big growth of Malta, nobody's mentioned it.
Malta?
Yeah. Who does it belong to? Not you.
Not me.
Belongs to the town of Malta.
Yeah.
So Malta is all by itself without Saratoga? I mean, all this growth in Malta and all those.
We just didn't want the meeting to be 3 hours.
Pardon?
Well, yeah, no, there's no doubt Malta's experienced a tremendous amount of growth. You know, there's a lot of apartments being built there and some other things, and I know they're trying to make some changes with zoning for businesses in the Route 67 area. But for me to get into much detail, it wouldn't be fair. Not my town.
So none of you have any part of Malta?
No.
They're part of the county. They're certainly part of the county. If you ask them, they're the center of the universe. But, you know, the county.
Would they like to think so?
The year I was chairman of the board, we got very involved in helping the Luther's Forest Tech Park become more competitive. Town of Malta had very high restrictions as far as being able to use pilot grants to bring in additional businesses after Global Foundries came. So the county has stepped up. We've taken over the road network. Those are now county roads in that park. The IDA now can attract new businesses through pilots, and there is a new administration in Malta that's becoming much more business oriented to try to, again, the tech park has 10 pods of sites for development. There's one pod that's rented. So you basically have a 10-unit apartment with only one tenant. So the idea is to, again, attract some, these are large businesses you're talking about coming in. These are 200-300 acre sites. And you know, Global is talking about, they bought the neighboring pod that they have. They're talking about another mega plant there once the one that's there kind of becomes profitable, so to speak. But I think we're within a year of hearing another announcement out of Global Foundries. But we are looking to develop the other 8 pods, and again, that'll become a resource for all the county residents to participate in as far as the value that'll bring. So Malta's a key player in the county, no doubt about it.
They're going somewhere. And then they're putting the Y with a healthcare situation up there. Is that a good idea?
Yes.
Is it?
That's a Saratoga line.
Okay, I thought it was part of Malta. Yes, it is.
Patrick?
Yeah, sure. Guys, while you're all here, one of our subcommittees on the visioning committee deals with, Rick talked about the Route 50 corridor and the area for the core business. We also have our farming and agricultural subcommittee. The third subcommittee is a committee that looks at connecting trails and connections between parts of our community. So the sidewalks we mentioned, but another thing is the bike trails. And if you look at the map that the visioning committee has generated, it shows all these great trails that kind of, in all the different towns here that are there. They're not quite connected, and I wanted to just throw out there while everyone who's in the room is here that, I think that there's definitely interest in looking at ways to connect the bike trail along the lake to the north, to the south. We see that there's a lot of work in Clifton Park, kind of bi-directional bridge, and then I'm assuming maybe a connection over to the main bike trail down in Saratoga County that goes along the river. So just to throw out that there's people actively looking at ways to connect, in the good weather, with snowmobile trails that go all through this weather, and then ways to connect things a little bit better by bike trails. So something that the committee's looking at, and be happy to have input in, and any opportunities if you need some legwork done, grants that would look at ways to connect those trails. We'd be interested in doing that.
Yeah, I think that whole thing's coming along. We've, in Clifton Park, we've added 14 miles of trails since 2000. So we've been able to do that and preserve a tremendous amount of property and grow our parks network without going broke, which I think is a feat. But I think between what we're doing and some of the other towns and the Zim Smith Trail expansion, there are more and more connections than there used to be, and I think you'll see more in the future.
Yeah, along those lines, I'm on Saratoga Plan Board. Because I'm on that board, I'm on the Regional Trails Committee, and it's amazing what's going on. You kind of mentioned it down in your area. But the whole plan is to connect everything from Champlain down below Albany.
Right.
And there are great people on this committee, and a lot is happening. So it's very exciting. They try to keep some just walking, hiking, snowmobiles, have both. I mean, it's a lot going on in the regional aspect here.
And that does attract investment and does attract, I talk to people all the time in town, now that I've been in office a while, and we started this trail push back 17, 18 years ago. And many people will tell me they moved here because of the trail networks in Clifton Park. So again, it's just another way that amenities and add value to your community and attract investment and keep your property values up. And obviously that's important to everybody.
Karen?
Mr. Koetzle, this is for you. I live off of Surrey, Sheffield, York. And what's the store going, is there really the store going in across from Price Chopper, and what is it? And how will you address turning left out of one of those three roads? Because it's getting harder and harder.
So for years, we've had talk of someone coming. We finally had a conceptual plan come forward by Aldi's for that property, which had some problems with it as far as what can fit on the property. They added then, making matters worse, a casual dining experience perhaps. Yeah, that's the good way of saying fast food. That perhaps they might bring a fast food restaurant in there as well. So that's created a little, it's a little tight, and we're working with them on some of those things. We will not allow an exit or entrance on Sheffield. We'll keep them out of the neighborhood as they go along that Glenville tile site. If there is talk that they may purchase the house behind them and try to get more room that way, we would require some sort of fencing to make it look residential down Sheffield. One of the issues they're having is they need more than just the light, believe it or not, or they want more than just the light, but we can't put another curb cut between Sheffield and the light. It just doesn't, it's too much. We're having the same problem on Freeman's Bridge Road where Verizon is coming along with two other future, to be named in the future, retail stores. But they want two additional curb cuts beside the light across from Dutch Meadows, across Schenectady C. And it becomes a question of, well, when do you hold your standards and say, we cannot allow all these curb cuts? You know, it doesn't help for the sidewalks we're trying to build, it doesn't help for aesthetics, it doesn't help for traffic on the road. And so a lot of times they'll say, well, we'll leave. You know, if you're not gonna give us what we want, we'll leave. So it's a little bit of a negotiation. We are not, and I tell this to DOT all the time, we are not Latham, we are not Colony, we are not Clifton Park. We have to work really, not that you don't work hard, you do work hard, but we have to work very hard to get folks to invest in our town, and sometimes we have to maybe give more than other communities would. But that's, as Supervisor Barrett talked about, that's the balance to it. So that's kind of a long answer to your question, but no access on Sheffield is the short answer.
With a train left out of Surrey, Sheffield, York, it's getting harder.
Yeah, all up and down 50. All up and down 50. Anywhere from the return, you can't get in and out of these neighborhoods anymore. But I will say this. What you do have that a lot of other neighbors don't have is you have other points of entry and entrance into that neighborhood. Our residents have been very adamant to make sure that their neighborhood is closed. Meaning when a plan comes before the planning board, they say no cut-throughs. Cut off all the cut-throughs. We just got through this with the Amador project in Glen Oaks and Indian Hills. Nobody wants to connect the neighborhoods. Well, what you've just done is you've created one entrance and one exit out of your neighborhood, and you've done it on one of the busiest roads in the area. So if you're not going to allow, for example, there Lincoln Drive out here and some others, you're supposed to have a back entrance through the apartment complex. They didn't want that, but they can't get out of their streets. We can't change that traffic. It's coming. It's going to get worse. And it isn't just the development that's happening here, it's what I've talked about with the casino. We're going to get more of that Schenectady-Saratoga traffic up and down 50. There is no question. And so it's going to get worse. What the answer to that is, DOT will tell you, you have to build ancillary roads. They want roads behind Price Chopper and Hannaford. They want roads, that's why we, with the county, did this Rudy Chase connection here. You can go through the apartments to ESAM and get out at Social Plaza. That's what they want to do. Freeman's Bridge Road, we're looking at building ancillary roads to try to take some of the, because they're not widening the roads. That's not happening.
And that's a good point that Chris makes, and it's something that we deal with a lot. You have in some cases, a mature neighborhood, and you'll see where there's a stub road that usually goes into maybe a wooded area or a field, and the road just ends, but you can see that little stub road. Well, if you're looking to buy a house around there, chances are that stub road is there for a future connection, so expect that. And as Chris said, people don't want those connections. You know, this is our neighborhood. We don't want to be connected to another neighborhood. But our planning board has stuck to what they should do, and that is allow those connections to happen for the reason that Chris just explained. Instead of cementing the fact that these neighborhoods only have one access in and out, it does give you different access points to the major roads. And that's very important, not only now, but in the future. So that's a constant issue that I know our planning board comes up against.
Great, well, thanks for the questions. I have to apologize, just because we're at 9:30, I want to be respectful of people's time, but I suspect that some of the supervisors, maybe all the supervisors, can stick behind for a minute or two. Also, a great way to be part of the discussion on a lot of what we talked about is our visioning committee. So either talk to myself if you have an interest, I know many of the people here are active participants on that committee, or talk to Nagar Hale. We'd be glad to take your information and get you in the loop on what's going on there. So again, I want to thank the 4 supervisors and all the people that came out this morning. Happy New Year. We look forward to doing business with many of you in this coming year.
Thank you, Rick.